everybody, I'm Stephanie, and we are at Conquer Life headquarters sitting down with our very special guest, Olivia. We are going to talk to her about her experience being a public school educator and the effects it has on her day-to-day mental health.
Hey. Hi everyone, I'm Olivia Bertels. I am a public school teacher, like she mentioned. This is my 9th year in the classroom, my 3rd year in Chicago.
So recent news stating that the mental health crisis is causing teachers to quit. Is this a topic that seems to be popular concern lately? I mean, it seems like your school is pretty good at addressing it, but what are your thoughts on it?
I think that a lot of it is just unmet needs on the part of teachers and on the part of students. It's hard to even describe because it's so holistic, right? Like, we're not paying teachers enough. CPS made huge budget cuts this year, which is absolutely absurd. They're cutting bilingual positions. Kids on, as always, the south and west sides of the city are seeing bigger budget cuts than kids on the north side of the city. People are losing special education staff, and it's just kind of like, not the time for that. All of it is it just all stems from, like, it's a systemic thing, right? Like, it's the same everywhere in the country for the most part. It's a lack of resources, it's a lack of support. I've never felt so, not belittled necessarily, but sort of like attacked. Like, teachers are everybody loves a teacher, right? Like, that's sort of like, like, famously, teachers, nurses, like, you're helping people, whatever. I have never felt more under pressure or like scrutinized, I guess I would say, publicly.
Can you expand on the importance of social emotional learning?
Yeah, I would say that I spend probably like 60% of my day dealing with that as opposed to academics. Wow. There's such a range of things that kids need. I have kids who aren't sleeping, aren't eating. I have kids that are dealing with like gender and sexuality transitions. Like, I have kids who have had deaths in the family. I have kids who are alone. I mean, it's just, again, like, I'm unloading, but it's a lot that I have been able to devote all of my energy to dealing with them. And it makes me happy that I'm able to be there for them, but if I were teaching, I would not have the bandwidth to do that. And that, I think, is what we're asking for, are increased resources so that we or somebody else in the building is able to help these kids, because that's really what it is, right? Like, in education, you say behavior is communication. So when a kid is acting out or they're having an issue, like, they're communicating something, they're communicating a need that is unmet. And I can deal with that now because I have somebody else doing most of my actual job for me. So it's great, but also sad because I see like that inequity there. Like, if we had more counselors, we went on strike at the end of 2019. That was one big thing. I don't have a nurse in my school. We don't have a library in my school. We have a full-time social worker, which we are lucky to have. All of that kind of like support staff, and CPS is underfunded aggressively, and that is the kind of stuff that kids need right now. We need smaller class sizes. We need more time to be able to focus on the needs that kids have so that they can be successful academically.
Yeah, it's all that little help that goes a long way.
Yeah.
So you're talking about all of the struggles that the students face. Unfortunately, right, in America, there's always like the possibility of like a school shooting.
Yeah.
Do you feel prepared? Do you feel like your school, your district is prepared for that, or how, just even personally, in your opinion?
It's so, in my whole career, my whole career has been after Columbine, right? Mm-hmm. And it's just something, like, especially, I guess, in Chicago, that weighs on you. I would say, ultimately, I'm more concerned about the police shooting one of my kids, to be honest. A little over a year ago, Adam Toledo, that is in the neighborhood where my school is, basically, very close by. That could have been one of my students. So that's a concern that I have. Guns are like an issue, not a pet issue for me, but something that I feel passionately about, like gun control. And I also have a friend who works in Parkland, Florida, and was involved in that school shooting in 2017. So yeah, it's certainly an issue that I think about all the time. I think it's absurd that as a nation, we continue to elect people who are beholden to the NRA, and we refuse to pass legislation to control this issue at all. I mean, I think probably everyone in this room knows that if you look around the world, other countries do not have this problem. Other developed countries do not have this issue. And so the fact that we have to drill school shooting, we have to do lockdowns is absurd. It makes me like white hot angry all of the time. I wouldn't say like scared necessarily, because it is what it is. I mean, things are gonna happen. If it happens, it happens. But yeah, it's more of like, to me, that's a political issue that affects me personally. So
yeah, no, yeah, it's a huge issue that is not being taken care of properly.
Yeah.
Could we maybe go over some like academic teaching versus morals and ethic teaching?
So I teach English. I teach a writing class actually right now. So I am kind of lucky, as opposed to my class is kind of like a humanities course, right? So like my students are typically very open, right? Like we have lots of discussions about race and religion, and like obviously immigration is a topic that affects them like personally. So we have tons of conversations about that, and they're really open about those things, right? Like they're very like prone to discuss them. I'm impressed, right? So I've like 12 and 13-year-olds, they're little. So obviously like in teacher land, you preface this with like, why do we have to be respectful of people that are different from us? Why do you think we learn about people that are different? And then you tie it back. So for me, it really is a blend, right? Like, yes, we're going to talk about like writing to a legislator. We're going to talk about ensuring like our grammar is correct and how to structure that. But you infuse it with real life lessons and things that, for me, I just want, like I said, like I just want them to be better people, and I want them to be in a world where they're accepted, but I want them to understand that they have a place in that. Like in order to build that world, they have to be a part of it as well.
How has education changed since you've been in school? Since you were in school.
Right. So I'm 31. We're not going to talk about it. I'm 31, so I graduated from high school over 10 years ago, obviously. I grew up in Kansas City, like I said. So I grew up in like what would be the equivalent of like a neighborville, right? So like extremely homogenous, everybody's white. Generally like the adult population, college educated homeowners, like all that demographic stuff. So I actually said that to the kids today, like, you may not have experience with this. And like something that I never talked about growing up was race. Like we have tons of conversations about race in here, but I did not talk about race at all. I like didn't think about my race or how it impacts anything at all until I was in college. I had incredible teachers, some of whom I'm still in contact with, but there was no how are you? There was no checking in on how things are going. They didn't know anything about my personal life at all. And some people like still teach that way, right? Some people, I am relatively young, like I've been in college sort of recently. I also have 2 master's degrees, so I've been like kind of doing continuing education since I graduated from undergrad. So that's obviously like a topic that comes up. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like it's a totally different environment. It's a hard line to walk. Like it's something that even I would say that with almost 10 years in the classroom, I have not mastered, because you want to keep your expectations high, and you want to challenge them, and you want them to be successful, and you want them to kind of like realize the world around them, but you also want them to take care of themselves.
Yeah.
You also want them to understand their own mental health and how to seek help.
What are some things that parents can do? What are some signs that parents can recognize in their kids?
Yeah, parents come all the time and they're like, what do I do? To me, it's like if they are in their room by themselves constantly in a way that is like different than their typical behavior, right? Like if it's like an aberration from how they normally are, that's huge. If they cannot get away from their computer or their phone or the TV, because that is like it's zoning out, right? It's the same for us. Like, oh yeah, if I'm gonna watch Netflix, I will just stare at it, or I'll stare at my phone while my computer's on my lap and my TV's on in front of me. Like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's like screens all day, and we're the same, but like, take them outside. Like, take it away, take the phone away, take them outside. And not in a way that's like, punitive, right? It's like, I care about you and I want to see your eyes not glazed over. What happens is they disconnect and then they withdraw, and then they're lonely and they're sad and they don't have the tools as 12-year-olds to deal with what they're feeling, because this is like crisis level. You know, I've sent many of my students to like the mental hospital this year. I've had kids cutting in the bathroom at school. I've had kids, you know, have suicidal ideations, like verbally to myself or to the counselor.
So how can we as a community help support our teachers?
I'm gonna be like a union gal right now and say that you need to support 𝐃𝐨𝐬. We went on strike like 3 weeks after I started working in CPS, right? So I was like, man, like, yeah, we're doing this. Yeah, this is happening. Like, wow, here we go. But I also came from like a suburban district that was extremely well funded. So when I came here, I was like, what do you mean we don't have a librarian? Like, you're telling me we don't have a library in a school? What do you mean about us? Oh, it's completely, it's psychotic. Like, it's bananas.
Yeah.
So I'm like, and then we went on strike and it's like, yeah, to me, like, yeah, the parents at my old district in another state would raise absolute hell. If there was not a library, a nurse, it would have been questioned. Well, and it would be funded. So that was it. I mean, the money would have been there. So it wouldn't be, yeah, it was not even on the table. So yeah, if you want to support teachers, you need to support unions, because unions and union leadership are there to advocate for us. So many of the things that we have that we in CPS enjoy, salary aside, are contractual, and contract negotiations is what the union does for us. So that would be my first thing. Also, please vote for people who support children and teachers and legislation that supports children and teachers. We're asking them for resources, and the fact that we have to do those things to get resources that should be absolutely par for the course is something that I feel like the general public does not realize. It's not always about we want more money or we want our pension or whatever. It's because when I'm running around dealing with issues that could be fixed, if I simply had more staff in there, if I didn't have 34 kids in a class, which I do, by the way, times 4, if I didn't have 34 students in a class, like, I could pay more attention to them. I could catch these issues. Like, we had a kid have a seizure today, like, in class. Like, I could be, and we barely caught it. You know what I mean? Like, I could be more aware of what's going on. And so, yeah. Vote for people who are going to throw money at teachers. That's my final answer on that one.
So to kind of wrap things up and close it out, what does mental health mean to you?
Mental health to me is like a multifaceted thing. My friends make fun of me because I have like a very aggressive self-care routine, but I always try to like qualify that with self-care is not mental health, right? Like, that's one piece of it. Like, yes, I do face masks and take about like whatever, yes, on my little Sundays, but it's also like connecting with other people and nature and just like the nature of being a human being. And I feel like when people feel lonely and when they feel disconnected, which again is like what I'm seeing with my students that is so concerning to me, when they feel like they're part of an out group, that's when we have problems, and that's when people go searching for an answer and they find it in something that's not healthy. So to me, it's taking care of myself, it's taking care of the people that I love. I'm an extrovert, so like I like to be around people that refuels me. Medication, therapy, big time. Everybody should see a therapist. Everybody should be seeing all of their doctors all of the time. I know that obviously there's a huge healthcare access issue, so you know, I don't want to harp on that too much, but if you have the means, like, taking care of yourself and taking care of your body is huge. And I hate to say it, but it is. You gotta like exercise and stuff. You gotta do it. Yeah, so just kind of like I don't know, to me it's like a holistic thing. So multifaceted. Yeah.
Wow, well, thank you so much for sharing all that with us. I feel like I've learned so much just from talking to you for this little bit, and thank you for sharing it with Conquer Life. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Good luck out there.
Thanks. We're almost over the home stretch. Thank you so much for having me.
Anywhere I owned my own car, I paid cash for it because I was a hustler. So you know, if I was hanging with people that did drugs, I did drugs. If I was hanging with people that drank, I drank. If I was hanging with people that were in hotels, I was in hotels. You know, it's like you become anything you need to be or anyone you need to be. Sleep with anyone you need to sleep with. Do whatever. Our initiative is around ending young adult and teen homelessness in 2 generations. Because if I do it, like, I know we hear that a lot, like, oh, I did it, but like, really, there's a way that money works, and we really can solve it.